The anime started with Taiyou Asano, who is a social inept high schooler who miraculously survived a car crash, but loses his parents and also his younger brother, which taught him two valuable life lessons. The first is that a person won't realize what is important to them until it is gone, and the second is that life is too easy to lose. It scares Taiyou to know that even if he bonds with someone close to him, perhaps the girl he likes, she might also lose her life one day. As he starts to tremble in fear thinking about it, the girl beside him comforts him with her kind words. She holds his hands and tells him everything will be all right, promising him that no matter what happens she won't be leaving his side. After the funeral, the red-haired boy Taiyou is forced to go to school as if he doesn't move on. Life will move on without him. During lunchtime, 3 of his classmates approach him, inviting him to hang out with them, but Taiyou refuses to join them, revealing that he has already turned them down over 10 times, making his classmates think that Taiyou is playing too hard to get. They notice how nervous Taiyou has become because of the social interaction, so they stop bothering him for now, while his classmates think that Taiyou is just shy. Taiyou explains to us that he is more than happy that they want to hang out with him, but because he no longer wishes to get close to anyone else, knowing they might get taken away from him, he has turned down their offer. Taiyou's friend back from the funeral named Mutsumi Yozakura, who reveals himself to be his classmate, comes to him and tells him that he shouldn't refuse their offer since they have been nice enough to invite him for over a month. Taiyou acts as if he doesn't care and tells her to just leave him alone. She knows he wants company, so she invites him to eat lunch together, but before he can also refuse her, she shows who's the boss and shuts his mouth. She sits with Taiyou and expresses how much she worries for him all the time, as Taiyou's antisocial attitude has started to make her think that he will spend the rest of his life being all alone and lonely. Taiyou again acts like he doesn't care and tells Mutsumi to go hang out with the seniors instead, who are trying their best to get in a relationship with her. Mutsumi evades the question like a pro, telling Taiyou that unless he moves on with his parents will be sad, telling him to fix his communication skills. Mutsumi begins to feed him food when suddenly their vice principal Harukawa, who likes her, takes the bite out of nowhere. Apparently, Harukawa has a thing for Mutsumi's lunches, and as he begins flirting with her, both Taiyou and Mutsumi are left completely irritated. Before taking his leave, Harukawa asks Taiyou to visit him at the end of his classes. So accordingly, Taiyou heads towards the teacher's room quite reluctantly while continuously having thoughts of the car crash. Ever since that ominous event, Taiyou has lost the guts to connect with others, even with the teachers. He enters the room of the vice principal Harukawa's office, who reveals to have been waiting a long time just for him. He offers Taiyou a cup of tea before saying anything to him, and sits very closely with him to ensure that Taiyou doesn't feel comfortable at all. Taiyou breaks the silence, asking Harukawa why he called him here today and if he is in any trouble. Harukawa explains that he just wants to show the boy his secret shots of Mutsumi collection, which is basically tons of Mutsumi's pictures clicked without her consent. Taiyou, who cannot believe how much of a pervert his vice principal is, loses all respect for him, realizing that he is a lost cause. Harukawa keeps showing Taiyou more and more photos of Mutsumi, including her childhood photos, which confuses Taiyou as he doesn't understand why a teacher would have Mutsumi's private pictures. As he asks him about it, Harukawa reveals that he has been watching Mutsumi from the shadows her entire life to shield her from all the unwanted people who try to steal her heart. He reveals how many boys he has already gotten rid of who have approached Mutsumi, and he even shows Taiyou a video of him brutally beating a boy to make sure he stopped pursuing her. As it is now clear that this dude is a complete psychopathic maniac, Taiyou wonders how he should escape this situation, realizing that he will sure target him because Mutsumi likes him. Harukawa also expresses how much he envies Taiyou just because of that. Not only does Taiyou get to have homemade lunches from her, but she also gets special treatment, so to make sure that Taiyou stays away from his precious. Harukawa brings out his knife and puts it on Taiyou's throat, threatening to kill him. Taiyou doesn't understand what type of relationship this mad lad has with Mutsumi, which has caused him to become such a psychopath. The psychopath reveals that he is actually Mutsumi's older brother and most definitely has a sister complex, which explains why he is misusing his powers. But before he can harm Taiyou, a girl enters the room from the window, telling Harukawa to stop this nonsense at once. Before anyone can make a move, she illuminates the room with a blinding light and escapes with Taiyou before Harukawa can do anything about it. As things have now become interesting, Harukawa gets up from his seat as he is ready to get serious. On the other hand, Taiyou, who fell unconscious because of the sudden attack by the mysterious girl, wakes up finding himself below Mutsumi and 5 other weirdos, including the white-haired girl who just rescued him, not understanding what in the world is going on. Taiyou freaks out asking for an explanation. Mutsumi explains that among the 5 weirdos there are her siblings. She first introduces him to her big sister Futaba, her big brother Shinzo, who for some reason is sitting inside a trash can, her other big sister Shion the makeup addict, her brother Kengo, who identifies as a cat, Nanao the bucket-head mad scientist, and lastly her house's guard dog Goliath. She reveals that they are a family of spies, making it clear as to why they are so weird and powerful. Taiyou can't believe what he has heard as he has never in his life suspected that his childhood friend Mutsumi would be a spy. Thinking that he is being pranked, he begins looking for the cameras, but upon not finding anything anywhere, he realizes that she is actually telling him the truth. Kengo tells Taiyou not to freak out as they are not some criminals who go around killing people, but are genuinely government-licensed spies who take on occasional tasks from time to time for the government. Kengo discloses that they have become big shots in the spy business because of their older brother Harukawa, who is the #1 spy in this country. Not only that, he is apparently also a chick magnet wanted by every single disparate female spy. They admit that Harukawa is flawed as a person because of his irrational behavior towards people who get close to Mutsumi, but because of his amazing feats in the spy business, they acknowledge him as the best spy in their family. But what doesn't make sense to Taiyou is why such a great man would target a small fry like him, who is just minding his own business, and trying to cope with his family's untimely death. The elder sister Futaba reveals that Harukawa is not targeting Taiyou because of a sister complex, but rather because someone is plotting to kill Mutsumi, which has caused him to become as skeptical as ever. Taiyou understands everything now, but what he doesn't understand is why Harukawa would suspect him even after knowing that he is Mutsumi's childhood friend. Futaba explains that years ago during a certain incident, Mutsumi suffered a near-fatal injury because of Harukawa, and the incident caused a part of her hair to become white because of the trauma and stress she has been through. Ever since then, the guilt of almost causing his own sister's death has made Harukawa obsess over Mutsumi to the limit, which is why he has dedicated his entire life to protecting her, to keep her away from any unwanted distractions. He has turned into an overprotective monster who deleted all of her personal connections except Taiyou up until now. Futaba also reveals that Harukawa has hated Taiyou for years, but gave him a pass because he was Harukawa's childhood friend, but now that he has a reason to get rid of him, he has finally targeted him as well. Speaking of which, Harukawa returns to their house, triggering their emergency alarm, which means that he is here to get done with the unfinished business. But Kengo calms down Taiyou, promising him that until they are all alive, Harukawa won't be able to even bend a single strand of his hair. Shion claims that all of the doors leading to this room have been locked as a precaution, and Shinzo reveals that he has set many traps leading to this room, but they are still uncertain whether these measures will be able to stop the greatest spy in their family. So Futaba gets ready to give her brother a serious beatdown if needed, informing Taiyou that even though it's a 5 versus 1 fight, they only have a 30% chance to win against that monster. Futaba also mentions the big possibility that most of them will need months of time in the hospital to recover after this fight. She comes up with a foolproof idea to ensure that Harukawa stops pursuing Taiyou and tells both him and Mutsumi to marry each other. Apparently, the first rule in their family states that you cannot harm your own family member, so Futaba is certain that Harukawa will stop targeting Taiyou if he becomes their family member by marrying Mutsumi. Although it's not that bad, but because Mutsumi knows Taiyou doesn't want anyone to get close to him, because of the recent traumatic incident he has been through. She refutes that idea, explaining to everyone that Taiyou is currently in a state where he can't even talk to people or sleep. So she knows how cruel it is to just tell him to join their family after how much he has lost in the blink of an eye. Futaba finally understands Taiyou's inner emotions, so she apologizes to him for acting in such an insensitive way, with no other alternatives left but to fight their older brother. The 5 spy siblings get ready, not realizing that Harukawa has been inside the room listening to their conversation all along. Harukawa casually reveals that he has destroyed all of the traps that Shinzo set in their house, calling them child's play. Futaba, who has had enough of her brother's coolness, tells him straightforward to stop trying to harm Taiyou, but Harukawa can't afford to do so, explaining that since there is no guarantee that Taiyou won't harm Mutsumi, he must take such brutal measures to ensure his sister's safety. Not being to come to an understanding, Futaba grabs Hirakawa's tie and sends him crashing to their ground, revealing how insanely powerful she is. However, Hirakawa doesn't take any damage at all and only smiles back at everyone. Nanao also joins the fight and smashes Hirakawa's head with a punch, apologizing to him in advance, but he too fails to damage Hirakawa at all and is sent flying away by him. Hirakawa warns everyone, telling them that if they don't hand over Taiyou, he will rip this house to shreds. As Hirakawa prepares his special attack, the Steel Spider, Futaba realizes how dangerous it will be if Taiyou stays here, so she tells everyone to run away with Taiyou deciding to stay behind to buy them some time. She tries to close the distance between her and Hirakawa, but he immobilizes her in an instant by trapping her against the ceiling and using the mysterious strings coming out of his hands. Brothers secretly is a Spider-Man. With one sibling down, Shion steps up to fight Hirakawa and using her phone, she launches a drone attack on him, but that too doesn't manage to put a scratch on him. In the meantime, Taiyou runs off with Mutsumi and Kengo, who lead him to a hidden compartment telling him to hide there until they finish their business with Hirakawa. After dealing with Shion's drones, Hirakawa comes out of the room completely unscathed and finds Mutsumi, Taiyou and the dog Goliath right in front of the painting. Hirakawa neutralizes both Mutsumi and her pet dog Goliath. It was revealed that it was Kengo who disguised himself as Mutsumi wearing a face mask, and the actual Mutsumi is disguised as Taiyou. Mutsumi takes off her disguise and tries to reason with her brother, telling him that Taiyou isn't going to try to kill her. Her brother gives her an alternate solution, proposing to her that if she stays locked in her house for the rest of her life, he won't try to harm Taiyou anymore. The proposition is absolutely absurd, but to save Taiyou's life, Mutsumi accepts it. However, Taiyou, who is listening to their conversation, doesn't want that to happen. So he gets out, agrees to marry Mutsumi to keep himself and her safe from the psycho older brother, and wears the family ring on his index finger, becoming an official member of their family. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.